Hey everyone, it's Dom here. I'm the founder and program manager of the RippleX Fellowship. Today we have Akshay with us, who is one of our Cohort 8 fellows. Akshay, you want to give a quick intro of yourself and what you're building?
Of course. Thanks, Dom. I'm excited to be here. So my name is Akshay, co-founder of Aview International. We help content creators monetize global audiences.
What is the problem that you're trying to solve, and how did you come across this problem space?
So we first came across this problem back in 2017, while myself and my co-founder were in high school. We were two high school students that just loved to watch YouTube content, as high school students used to do. But we came up with an idea of how can we monetize this content to new international audiences? And that was the hunch. Can we, in some way, take this content globally? And just through that idea, we started working with creators, and happy to go into that side of things, but just a very simple subtitling service. Very top of the surface problem. But then as we began to work with these creators, as we began to understand their problem sets, understand the manager problem sets, we realized that the subtitling was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to problems for these monetization of creators. And so fast forward to today, we really dug deeper into this problem set and have elaborated on this idea of monetization and less so of the translation.
So did they first try the transcription subtitles first, didn't get enough uptick and adoption on the monetization side, and they're like, oh, what if we tried? Or did they have data points that if you did the voiceover translation as well, that would help convert engagement and monetization better? Like, what were they trying to solve for?
Yeah, so what we realized is when we just subtitled content, it would be only on their native channel itself. So imagine Logan Paul's channel, and now you just have Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese subtitling on that channel. But then when we realized, why do creators even want to do this in the first place? It's to build a new international community. That's when we decided to go back to these creators and say, hey, you know what? We're not really achieving our initial goal by just subtitling your content. What if we created a new Logan Paul Espanol or Logan Paul Arabic channel, and then created a new community of viewers that can now be monetized on that new international channel? New brand deals, new ad revenue, new viewership, essentially taking everything they've done here in this North American scene, but now globalizing it in that perspective. And then the end goal being monetization opportunities.
Interesting. Is there like a certain size of creator where this becomes like a bigger problem or interest?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing on TikTok in particular, on Instagram as well, this huge rise of influencer culture, right? Everyone can be an influencer, and it's really exciting to see, especially with what Elon's doing with X. He's really pushing monetization capabilities. So you have creators that are coming in around the 10,000 average views, the 50,000 average views. That's great. That's exciting, but it's not enough to really monetize globally. For us, what we're looking at is looking at YouTube audience. Because at the end of the day, YouTube audience, what we found is some of the most loyal audiences there is compared to that short form content that we're seeing on Instagram or seeing on TikTok. And so if we go back to that YouTube scene, we're looking at an average around 100,000 average views per video. I know right now everyone's so caught up on followers, so caught up on subscribers, but at the end of the day, what's most important beyond anything else is engagement. I could have 10 million subscribers, but only get 5,000 views a video. Well, that 5,000 views is not going to really allude to any major monetization.
Interesting. Random question, but has any international channel outperformed their native channel?
Good question. We've gotten some pieces of content. One of our creators blamed on Jorge. A few of his videos did do better in Spanish than they did in English, topping up around 900,000 views for one video. And really blew up. A few of those videos hit that algorithm so well and just expanded.
Wow. Awesome. And tell me about your first paying customer and how you got them. What were the biggest learnings from them? Walk me through that story.
Of course. So this is like actually a bit of a funny story. So when Garnet and I first started, Garnet being my co-founder, first started this entire process, we didn't know much about business. I was in just sciences. He was in business, high school business, for what that means. And we were just trying everything possible. We were sending mail to their PO box, brochures, one-pagers. We were trying to comment on all their videos. We were DMing them. none of this worked until we realized, well, maybe we can build a website. And so we built a website. It looked like a consulting firm. It literally looked like a consulting firm. Even to this day, I don't know how anyone would have wanted to work with us because of how professional non-creator
Yeah.
looked like. So we started now reaching out via an email, and the email was long. It was very lengthy. Here's everything we do. Here's how we're better than every alternative that's on the market right now. Here's how we're priced better than anyone else. Here's how we're so much more creator friendly. And it was this long email. And we got a reply from a creator called TechSmart. So TechSmart was a creator that was really big many years ago in the kind of YouTube scene, reviewing a lot of electronic devices. And he messaged us back one line saying, I don't like the way you price this. Okay, interesting. So that's what we're left with. And that was one of our first replies. So we came back to the drawing board. Garner and I figured, okay, if they don't like this revenue share model, they don't like this model, what about this? Like a fee per service. So then with this new email set, we not only emailed back TechSmart, but we emailed a ton of other creators with that, one of which was Logan. And so we talked to Logan and via email, and Logan said...
Him personally, he replied to you.
Yeah, him personally. Okay. He had around 1 million subscribers at the time. And so he was just coming off this big wave from Vine, right? Out of all things. And he had this whole crew. He had Jake there, obviously, with Team 10 that was doing amazing things. He had his internal LA group that he was working with. And said, okay, Logan, we can do this for you. We can take care of it. He said, you know what, guys, let's hop on a quick call. So I'm here sitting in my bedroom at the time with on my desk just written out every single thing about Logan that I know. Every single piece of his content, what he posts about, what I was a big Logan fan back then. And so I knew all this thing. And I'll also write on my little whiteboard every single pricing model that we can provide from a discounted rate. So if you asked a question, automatically I knew, well, sure, Logan, we can give you 15% off. We can do the first 3 videos, whatever it was. And so hop on a call. He calls me about an hour after we had scheduled it. He was busy doing what I was watching his like stories, so I could see what he was up to. So he was a busy guy. Gives me a call and we start chatting about it. And we start talking about globalization, monetization. And it's interesting because that's the first time I ever talked to a customer on the phone. And one thing I learned really quickly was sometimes you just have to just be quiet and let them speak. And for a long part of that call, Logan was telling us about how he wants to go global. And so I just let him sell it back to me. It was such an interesting experience, so amazing that even to the days we do our calls now, it's the same experience. And so we listened to him, we understood his problems, we dug a little deeper into what we're offering him. And then next thing he was like, oh guys, let's do this. So we did the first 3 videos for free. And if you actually go into any of his YouTube videos on his main channel from 2017 up until now, they're all subtitled from us in 3 up to 5 languages.
What triggered him to take the bet on you? Because at that point you had no customers, no referenceability. Like this, all of our student startups go through this, right? Like you start from ground zero, your student founders, no like big company or big network that you can pull on to sign his first customers. You had to cold email a bunch of people. Logan just happened to be one of them that was interested enough, who faced that problem. How did you get him over the hump and trust you with his channel and with his following and with his videos?
No, it's a good question. I would say at the end of the day, it came back to showing our depth of knowledge, right? At that time, there was no big AI tool. There was no major creator company that was trying to do this for creators. We were one of the first in the market from that sense. And so for us, we had this ability to communicate our knowledge in the space. We understood before we even reached out to any customers for 6 months. Garnet and I became the most knowledgeable people we could possibly become in everything alternative. What are the alternatives? How long do they take? How do they price? Why are creators using them? Why did YouTube partner up with these guys in the first place? We try to understand every single part of it. And so when it came to communicating our value proposition, it didn't come off as we're better than them. We just came across as we're more knowledgeable for what you're trying to achieve for your goals. At the time, because that was our first customer, we were willing to make things very personalized, very catered towards Logan. And even to this day, for most of our premier creators, we make things very tailored towards them. And I
Yeah.
found just having that personalization, that connection, and just sharing that insight, things that he didn't really even understand, I was able to enlighten. It built that trust pretty quickly. And then at the same time, too, the way we communicated to Logan never came across as, look, we're trying to scam you, trying to rip you off, right? We're very fair with our prices, if not even on the lower end, to be quite honest, initially. And we were just telling him about, look, this is the potential that you're missing out. This is the opportunity we're missing out on. And I think there was a little bit of risk taking, without a doubt, from Logan's side, right? Willing to, jump into this next step with us. But once he started to see the new international viewership, once he started to see the monetization opportunities and just how many more viewers he was getting through that, it was a bit of a no-brainer for him to start referring others, right?
Yeah.
And then using that name, we're able to tap into new markets, new opportunities. And so it's still a tactic that we use to this day.
Yeah, it sounds like you were able to just build that layer of trust with him.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like it was through a deep level of just obsession with the space, obsession with providing value, and obsession with making sure that you had the deepest understanding of what the current tools and workflows were like. And so that you could also give that white glove service to the first few customers to make them feel special. Because at the end of the day, like, people want to buy from other people that they trust, and that obviously make them feel special as well.
100%, especially in the creator market. What companies are forgetting is these people are putting their lives on the internet. Every single day they're being filmed. Every single day they have a persona that people are looking up to, that people are hating on, that people are admiring, that brands are willing to pay a ton of money to access. And without appreciation for that part of it, no creator is going to ever want to work with someone, because there has to be that alignment, especially nowadays with the cancel culture, with how easy creators can get under scrutiny. They want to make sure that the brands that they're aligning with also have that same alignment.
Exactly. And how have you, so you talked about scaling and kind of the early hand holding with the first set of customers, and obviously now you've grown to a much larger customer base. So how have you maintained or tried to scale that personal touch that you've had with the initial customers into the new ones that you have now?
Absolutely. And this was something that we were honestly a little bit worried about, and something that Garnet and I spoke collectively a lot and talked to our mentors about. This is one of the biggest value proposition working with us is we have that personalized touch. We take on the creators that we want to be able to take on, but now that we have investors, we have to scale, right? We have to take it to the next level. We have to really grow this company. And so with this idea in mind, what we decided to do is bring on account executives. So people who can manage, are more of our premier creators who are on our upper kind of tier, their systems always in place. So we have someone there, personalized touch, whether it's myself, whether it's Garnet, whether it's our new hire, that's always there. Now, the idea is that one person can oversee up to 25 creators, right? Because they're not always looking for a whole lot of hand holding. There's a little bit in the onboarding, and there's a little bit when payouts happen, there's a little bit when charges happen, when invoices are sent, there's like things like that. But we're trying to build that relationship so early on in the onboarding where we don't really have to do so much of that hand holding later down the line. We just built that trust where, hey, if you want to contact us, we have a direct line on our website to me, to Garnet, to one of our team members right away, and we'll respond within like a few minutes. And so having that ability to just connect with them, now that's serving us well to right now. Who knows what's going to happen when we have our first 10,000 creators? Is that model still going to work? We have a few different things in mind with partnering with different media companies, media agencies that they manage their creators. A few things that, again, how do we really figure out their pain point and then still solve it without losing that value proposition of trust?
Makes sense. And you mentioned scaling and investors. Tell me about some of the key learnings that you've had going through raising capital from angels, funds, some things that you would do differently next time around. Tell me about some of the learnings from that fundraising and scaling issues.
Yeah. You know what? So to be quite honest, it was not the easiest time to raise, just because of everything that's happening right now. I know that's such a loosely thrown around term, and the economy and whatever it might be, but I think at the end of the day, if your venture is truly venture scalable, venture backable, you're going to get the right investors. I think what a lot of people or founders, first-time founders in particular, forget is you don't have to always go down the venture model. We bootstrapped this company for literally 4 years, and we were making good revenue. We were really happy with what we were doing. Pay for tuition, had a nice housing and university, whatever it might have been. But then when we realized internally, and we had long conversations with our mentors about this, okay, now it's time to take this to the next step. Now we actually want to do the $1 billion valuation. We want to grow. Then we had to really pivot our internal systems to make ourselves ready for investors, ready for investments. Because if I go to an investor right now and say, yeah, you know what, we have a pool of 80 translators and 40 dubbers and a couple of transcript artists and a couple of editors, it doesn't sound scalable, right? Nor is that scalable at all. But now we pivoted that internal system. So now, hey, look, 80% of the way is all AI, even using their voice as the AI system. But all we have is a QA person that checks it for our premier creators. And it's very much less on us. Now they're a lot more enticed to, okay, I can see how this is venture backable. I can see how this is scalable. I can see your road to the first 1,000, 10,000 million creators and whatnot. The other thing that I found that to be a good and help in raising is showing multiple revenue streams. So what we wanted to do is not just stick to fee per service. We realized, okay, how's that going to grow us, indefinitely down the line? And so we added in different items like revenue shares, different brand partnerships that always continued us to get additional revenue, and kind of an MRR without an MRR, if that makes sense. And so that was another thing that we're experimenting with in terms of things that we learned. I think a big thing that we had struggles with is, when we went through Creative Destruction Labs, now going through Techstars, we're exposed to a very particular type of investor. An investor that may not have the appetite or the palate for something in the creator economy. And that totally makes sense. It's a new market. It's a lot of anomalies. We're now seeing a ton of competitors starting to crowd this space, and it's a tough risk, right? And if the founders don't have the right backing, or if the creators aren't performing very well, it's really tough to grow that. And so what we really focus in on is, who are the investors, who are the angels that have backed companies in the creator economy or backed companies in media that understand this market a little bit better. I had conversations with investors where they gave us we're cheering from the sidelines, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but tell me why. And they give us the rationale. I'm like, this just shows that maybe there's not that knowledge coming in from your end. And it happens. You have to, move on. I was told back in a couple of years ago, there's more investors and there are kind of startups nowadays. And so really preying on, okay, who's next? How can we make sure we tailor our outreach to them? How do we make sure we get in front of them? Warm intros, whatever it might be. Show them the growth, right? Show them the process. It's not an overnight thing. It's a couple months, but that's the idea that we had.
Yeah, makes sense. No, that's a really good feedback. I think what we've also come to learn after going through a lot of fundraising conversations ourselves is there's people who get it and there's people who don't. And you want to focus on the investors and the partners that really get it, or have that sheer curiosity and that passion to actually try to learn about it and get a position on it, because not everyone's going to be an expert in a particular space. But there's a difference between a person who just doesn't hear anything and doesn't want to accept it, and another person who wants to hear you and wants to learn and wants to be educated and has a position where they think you're unique. That's where you have the better conversations, the better partnerships, from what my own personal experience too.
100%. Our lead investor doesn't make any investments in media, but he understood, he's willing to take a risk and understand our market. He saw the potential. He believed in myself and Garnet, and he said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. All the other investments he's made is in the biotech space and other whatever spaces. And again, that's really all you need from a founder approach.
Yeah, exactly. If you were to give yourself advice in a position 4 years ago, knowing what you know now, what would that advice be?
Good question. I would say, honestly, I'm a person who likes to overthink a lot. I think a lot of founders, especially sometimes even non-technical founders, like to perfect everything, whether it's a part of their website, whether it's a part of their pitch deck, whether it's their email to one word and their subject line. Cannot sweat the small stuff. Just try, get it out there first. I know you probably have heard that so many times, honestly, from someone that still to this day struggles with this. My team have helped me to understand, look, we just got to do this. We just got to push it out. We just got to try. Because if you don't get out there first, someone else is likely going to get to that person with probably something even a little bit worse. But because you weren't even there, you have that customer has no one to benchmark off of. So just got to get in front of people. I tell myself that every day. I wish I had myself to tell me that 4 years ago, because I'm sure we would have been a little bit further along, who knows by how much, but it's something that I always think about and something I'm always practicing.
And that's good advice. In our team too, we've been saying this a lot more, the 3 words, just ship it. And we'll move on to the next thing, because you'll learn from the data that comes back from executing versus planning and thinking through it too much. So I think that's really good advice.
Exactly.
So I'd love to end off with your experience with the RippleX Fellowship, because that's how we originally met, and how we've been hopefully value add to you and some of your experiences.
So one thing that I really admired about the Ripple program is there's so many high level resources online, from YouTube channels to now there's all these other programs that you can sign up to and get access to all these resources. But what I liked about Ripple is the personal touch I found to everything. I'll take, for instance, the cap table explanation. When I was becoming a startup founder, I had zero idea how cap tables worked, how the Excel should be broken down, how dilution works. But then going through these programs, I understood this is how it works. This is how you navigate it. This is what happens at seed versus Series A versus Series B versus option pool, what it all meant for a company. And I think what I admire was you guys were able to take the really kind of things that startup founders don't always think about and make it a point of, here's a foundation to learn. Here's what you just have to keep in the back of your mind as you're going through this process. Because with all those endless resources, it's all things we've heard on the past. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do, okay, great. But what does that even mean? And then being able to actually collaborate with my peers and understand that perspective was something really meaningful, to see that some of them were already in VC, like VC Scouts, for instance, and seeing that this is what they think of from the VC arm. Now, from a founder perspective, I can work through that. In fact, one of our first investors for our previous company came through Ripple, right? Came through the fellowship program through one of the venture scouts. And that was Ethan from our cohort. So that was such an amazing experience, because I got to understand where he was coming in from, how we were coming out, and then how I can organize all my things internally without having this high level understanding, but actually having deep understanding. That's what I felt was super meaningful, and something that helped. Even to this day, I look back at some of the resources and some of the kind of Drive accounts that we have still set up, and looking at, okay, this is how we should be structuring this problem. This is how we have to be organizing our kind of market sizing, for instance. I know everyone has a different TAM. SAM is in the trillions of whatever numbers past trillion, they have it in their pitch deck. But it's okay, this is how you properly do it for an investor that's legitimate.
Awesome. Sounds good. I think we're up on time now. So thank you so much for the chat, Akshay. Amazing story, and congrats on all the progress. And really looking forward to having you continue to be part of the RippleX community.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dominic. I appreciate it.